exists a creature born from the earth itself, a hulking figure of clay and stone, shaped by human hands, but driven by dark, unnatural forces. This creature is known as the Golem, and its legend has haunted the corners of Eastern Europe for centuries. The Golem is not a creature of grace. It is slow, lumbering, and awkward in its movements, a giant made of lifeless matter, animated only by the dark magic that gives it form. Its body is a rough, uneven mass of clay or rock, patched together with crude seams, and its face is blank, expressionless, an unfeeling mask devoid of humanity. Some say it was created to serve its master, a protector summoned from the earth itself to do his bidding. Others whisper that the Golem was born from desperation, created by a rabbi or wizard to avenge wrongs too terrible to bear. In modern Hebrew, the word golem translates to cocoon, but it also carries darker meanings: fool, silly, or stupid. And indeed, the golem is often described as lacking in intelligence, nothing more than a clumsy tool of destruction, incapable of independent thought or action. But this is where the terror begins, because while the golem is a mindless servant, it is also a force of nature, a brute, unstoppable and powerful, with strength far beyond that of any human. Once unleashed, it will follow its master's commands without question, no matter how horrific. And yet, when those commands are left unclear or unrestrained, the creature can become a terror in its own right, wreaking havoc in its mindless pursuit of tasks it cannot understand. The golem is said to be bound by a single, fragile command, the inscription of a word, often placed on a piece of parchment and placed inside its mouth. Without this word, the creature is a blank slate, mindless and deadly, its power unchecked. In the ancient stories, there were whispers of golems running amok, destroying villages, crushing anyone who crossed their path, all because their creators failed to control them. And so, the golem is a warning, a tale of what happens when humanity meddles too far with the natural order, summoning forces they cannot control. Some say the golem still walks the earth, waiting for a master to breathe life back into its stone heart. But be careful, if the golem ever awakens again, it will not stop, no matter how clumsy or foolish its creators may have been. In the eerie silence of Bucksport Cemetery, Maine, stands a towering obelisk, a seemingly ordinary monument, yet one that bears a sinister mark. This is the memorial of Jonathan Buck, a man remembered not just for his life, but for the curse that darkens his legacy. Etched onto the stone, like an ominous scar, is the unmistakable shape of a woman's stocking-clad foot, or perhaps a boot, a symbol both strange and chilling. Legend whispers that Buck, a man of influence in his time, condemned a woman to death for witchcraft. Her screams filled the air as the flames rose, but before she was silenced, she cursed him with her dying breath. "I shall haunt you," she vowed, "and mark your grave as a sign of your cruelty." Townsfolk say Buck scoffed, dismissing her words as the ravings of a vengeful spirit. But as the years passed, the curse began to take form. After Buck's death, an obelisk was raised in his honour. Soon, whispers emerged that a strange mark had appeared, a single, ghostly footprint of a woman's stockinged foot, etched deeply and inexplicably into the stone. No tools could erase it, possession, as if the spirit herself were renewing her claim. Visitors to the cemetery tell of an unsettling presence around Buck's grave. Some report feeling a chill creeping over them, or catching sight of a shadowy figure in the corner of their eye, an outline of a woman standing near the cursed obelisk, her gaze fixed coldly upon it. Local law insists that this ghostly figure is the woman Buck condemned, bound forever to the stone, her foot branded there as a mark of vengeance. Over the years, strange misfortunes have befallen those who mock the legend or touch the footprint in jest. A man who dared to trace the outline of the foot with his hand fell ill the next day, his fevered dreams haunted by the spectre of a woman's boot pressing down on his chest, as if crushing the breath from him. Others have reported feeling an inexplicable weight upon them, a pressure that lingers long after they've left the cemetery. The curse of Jonathan Buck's memorial endures, a ghostly reminder of a promise made in fire and fury. And so, the warning stands. Those who approach this cursed obelisk may find themselves marked by forces that lie beyond, trapped forever in the shadow of a vengeful spirit's wrath. Let's unwind with a chilling tale. The choking Doberman, a mysterious intruder, a loyal pet, and a terrifying discovery will take you into the shadows. Relax and let the story begin. On a cold, dark night, a woman returned home after a long day. Her house was eerily silent, except for the faint sound of her Doberman whimpering. Startled, she rushed to find him slumped on the living room floor, struggling for air. The dog's body convulsed as it tried to cough up whatever was lodged in its throat. Panicked, the woman knelt beside her beloved pet, trying to comfort him. His choking worsened, and she knew she had to act fast. Without hesitation, she scooped up the Doberman and sped to the nearest vet clinic, her heart pounding as her dog gasped for air in the back seat. Every passing moment felt like an eternity. When they arrived, the vet wasted no time. They sedated the dog and began to investigate the source of the obstruction. What they found made the vet's face go pale. He slowly pulled out a severed human finger from the Doberman's throat. The woman stood frozen in shock as the vet explained what had caused her dog's distress. A chilling sense of dread crept over her. Whose finger was it? The vet urged her to call the police immediately. Shaking, she dialed 911 and told the dispatcher what had happened. The operator's voice, initially calm, quickly grew tense. "Get out of the house, Mom. Now." Confused and terrified, the woman grabbed her keys and ran outside, just as the police arrived. They searched the house, checking every room, every shadowy corner. In the master bedroom, they found him. A man hiding under the bed, bleeding profusely from his hand. His face twisted in agony, and his eyes were wide with panic. The police quickly apprehended him. It became clear that the intruder had broken into the house while the woman was away, but her Doberman had caught him in the act, biting off his finger as he fought back. The woman stood outside, staring at the house that had once felt like a sanctuary. The image of her brave dog choking on that grotesque finger replayed in her mind. Her blood running cold. What if the dog hadn't intervened? What if she had come home earlier? Those questions lingered, gnawing at her sanity, long after the intruder was taken away. The dog, her loyal protector, had saved her life, but at a horrifying cost. Let's dive into the mysterious tale of the Blue Star Tattoo Legend, a chilling urban myth that once spread fear among parents. Relax, unwind and drift off as we explore this eerie story. The Blue Star Tattoo Legend is a well-known urban myth that emerged in the 1980s, sparking fear and concern among parents and schools. According to this legend, drug dealers were supposedly targeting young children by distributing LSD-laced temporary tattoos disguised as innocent stickers or lick and stick tattoos. These tattoos, often said to feature blue stars, butterflies, or other fun designs, were believed to be soaked in LSD, a potent hallucinogenic drug. The legend typically portrayed a scenario where unsuspecting children would receive these tattoos from strangers or through the mail. Once the tattoo was applied to the skin, the drug would allegedly seep through the pores, causing hallucinations and potentially dangerous effects. The myth gained significant traction through warning flyers distributed by schools, community organisations, and even police departments, urging parents to be vigilant about what their children brought home. One common version of the story described the tattoos being handed out at playgrounds or schools by individuals looking to get children addicted to drugs at an early age. The tattoos were described as brightly coloured and appealing to kids, further feeding into the panic. Some variations of the legend claimed that these drug-laced tattoos were being sold in candy wrappers or other common items that children might encounter. Despite the widespread panic that the Blue Star Tattoo legend caused, there was never any verifiable evidence to support the claims. No confirmed cases of children being harmed by LSD-laced tattoos were ever reported. However, the fear it instilled in communities was very real, leading to increased warnings and stricter scrutiny of items given to children by strangers. Experts have since debunked the legend, explaining that LSD is unlikely to be absorbed through the skin in the way the myth suggested. Additionally, the idea of drug dealers giving away expensive drugs like LSD to children for free was deemed highly improbable. The legend, like many urban myths, played on the fears of parents during a time when drug use and awareness were on the rise, particularly in schools. In retrospect, the Blue Star Tattoo legend is an example of how misinformation and fear can spread rapidly. Let's journey into the peaceful waters of the Pacific coast, where legends of Cadborosaurus, a mysterious sea serpent, drift in the waves. Relax and let the soothing tale unfold. Cadborosaurus, affectionately known as Caddy, is a legendary sea serpent that has captured the imagination of many along the Pacific coast of North America. Its name is derived from Cadboro Bay, a coastal area in Greater Victoria, British Columbia, where it has reportedly been spotted numerous times over the years. The legend of Caddy has become a staple of local folklore, with stories of its sightings stretching from Alaska to California, although British Columbia remains its most frequent haunt. Described as a massive, snake-like creature, Cadborosaurus is said to possess a long serpentine body, often estimated to be between 10 to 50 feet in length. Witnesses describe its head as horse-like, with large eyes, and sometimes small horns or fins protruding from the sides. The creature is also thought to have humps along its back, similar to the classic sea serpent imagery that has been passed down through various cultures around the world. These humps are often visible as it glides just beneath the surface of the water, leaving a distinct wake in its path. Caddy's elusive nature adds to the mystery surrounding it. There are countless accounts from sailors, fishermen, and beachgoers who claim to have seen the creature, yet great speed, effortlessly cutting through the water, making it difficult to capture or photograph. Some theories suggest that caddy could be a type of prehistoric marine animal that has managed to survive in the deep, unexplored waters of the Pacific. Others believe it could be an undiscovered species of giant eel or a relative of the oarfish, a long, ribbon-like fish known for its impressive size. Throughout the years, various expeditions and searches have been launched to find Cadborosaurus, but none have succeeded in proving the creature's existence. In 1937, the legend gained even more traction when the carcass of a strange sea creature, believed by some to be caddy, was found in the stomach of a sperm whale. The discovery sparked a flurry of media attention, but the remains were never properly examined, and skeptics argue that the body was likely that of a known marine species. Despite the lack of solid evidence, the legend of Cadborosaurus lives on, inspiring curiosity and wonder about what might still be lurking beneath the waves. We dive into the unsettling tale of the colander lie detector, a strange and eerie urban legend. Settle in, relax, and let this mysterious story guide you gently into sleep. An eerie urban legend from the 1960s speaks of a chilling interrogation method used by police or army investigators. It began with a crude yet unsettling setup. A colander, typically used for straining pasta, repurposed into a nightmarish piece of equipment. The investigators would place this everyday kitchen item onto the head of a suspect, but its sinister transformation didn't end there. Wires connected the colander to a photocopier, creating the illusion of advanced technology. In a dimly lit interrogation room, the suspect would sit nervously as the investigators loomed over them, watching intently. The tension was palpable, the walls closing in as the suspect was bombarded with questions. The investigators' eyes would dart back and forth between the suspect and the machine, waiting for the first crack in their story. Each time the suspect answered, the photocopier would whir to life, spitting out a fresh sheet of paper. The sound of its mechanical churning filled the room, amplifying the sense of dread. If the answer was deemed acceptable, the machine remained silent, offering a brief respite. But if the investigators found the response suspicious or dishonest, the copier would hiss and clunk, printing a single sheet with a damning message: "He's lying." The effect was immediate. Suspects, already frazzled and scared, would crumble under the pressure of the so-called lie detector, convinced that the colander was exposing their every falsehood. They couldn't know that it was all a cruel trick. The investigators manipulated the machine, not through science or technology, but through psychological warfare. The power of suggestion turned the colander and photocopier into terrifying tools, blurring the line between reality and fiction. Some say the interrogators used this method for years, laughing behind closed doors at how easily their victims were broken by the sight of a kitchen utensil on their head. But as with any legend, the line between truth and myth is thin. Stories began to circulate of suspects who couldn't handle the pressure, of minds unravelling as they became trapped in a game where the stakes felt life or death. Whispers of the colander lie detector persist, and while it's easy to dismiss it as a bizarre tale from the past, one can't help but wonder if, somewhere in a dark corner of the world, the machine is still being used, waiting to catch its next victim in its web of fear and deception. In the shadowed corridors of the uncanny, where art meets the supernatural, unsettling legend of the crying boy. This painting, a mass-produced print by the Italian artist, known both as Giovanni Bragolin and Bruno Amadio, has stirred whispers of a curse since it first appeared in the 1950s. The portrait, depicting the tear-streaked face of a young boy with deep, sorrowful eyes, became a common fixture in homes across Europe, initially cherished for its poignant depiction of innocence and grief. Yet, beneath the surface of this seemingly benign artwork, darker forces seemed to lurk. The legend began to take shape in the 1980s, when a series of mysterious fires devastated numerous homes throughout England. Amidst the charred ruins, firefighters made a chilling discovery. While the flames consumed almost everything in their path, the prints of the crying boy survived unscathed. In one house after another, the painting was found amongst the ashes, its glass cover often the only thing left intact. These bizarre occurrences were first reported in a 1985 article in the Sun newspaper, which chronicled the strange phenomenon, igniting widespread fear and superstition. The tale grew more sinister with each telling. It was said that the boy in the painting was a foundling, taken in by Amadio, who discovered the child weeping beside the smouldering ruins of a building that had claimed his parents. Moved by his plight, Amadio captured the boy's eternal sorrow on canvas. However, dark rumours swirled that the artist had exploited the child's curse, for the boy was no ordinary orphan. Legend had it that wherever he resided, fires of unknown origin would inexplicably ignite. As the cursed painting's fame spread, so did accounts of misfortune attributed to it. Owners of the print reported inexplicable series of bad luck, with numerous testimonies of personal tragedies that befell those who displayed the painting in their homes. Some spoke of hearing the soft sobs of a child at night, the cries echoing through hallways, only to find the painting's eyes brimming with tears, as if the boy mourned not only his fate, but also that of those who gazed upon him. Frightened by these tales, many sought to rid themselves of the painting. Yet, disposing of the crying boy proved no simple task. Stories emerged of the prints being found intact at local dumps, or returning to hang on the walls they had once adorned, despite being thrown away. Others who attempted to burn the painting found that it resisted the flames, the boy's face peering out through the fire, his tears reflecting the inferno around him. Some curious souls, skeptics of the supernatural, delved into the painting's history, seeking rational explanations. They proposed that the varnish used by Amadio might have been flame retardant, a common practice among painters who wished to protect their work. Yet, no scientific explanation could fully dispel the aura of dread surrounding the image. The legend of the crying boy took on a life of its own, a modern myth that mingled fact with folklore. It became a cautionary tale about the objects we choose to bring into our homes, about the unseen energies they might carry. It warned of the grief that could spill from canvas to reality, a sorrow so profound it seemed to transcend the boundaries of art and enter the realm of the paranormal. Today, the crying boy hangs in the shadowed corners of antique shops, in online auctions, and sometimes, still, on the walls of those who either do not know its story or who defy the curse to court disaster. Whether a true bearer of misfortune or merely a subject of one of the most unsettling urban legends of the 20th century, the painting continues originating from the picturesque Rainham Hall in Norfolk. This legend captures the imagination of those fascinated by the supernatural and the unexplained. Rainham Hall, built in the early 18th century, was the ancestral home of the Townshend family. It is a grand estate characterised by its stunning architecture and beautiful grounds, but it also harbours a chilling tale of loss and lingering spirits. The story of the Brown Lady is closely linked to Lady Dorothy Walpole, the sister of the first Prime Minister, Sir Robert Walpole. It is said that she married Charles Townshend, a man known for his volatile temperament. The couple's marriage was fraught with difficulties, leading to tragedy and heartbreak. According to legend, Lady Dorothy fell in love with another man, which enraged her husband. In a fit of jealousy, Townshend confined her to Rainham Hall, where she was said to have lived in isolation for many years. Her suffering took a toll on her health, and it is believed that she eventually died of despair. Some accounts suggest that she was buried in a secret location, leading to speculation about a restless spirit haunting the halls of the estate. The haunting began to capture public attention in the early 20th century when two photographers, including Captain Hubert Provand, visited Rainham Hall in 1936. They were there to capture images of the historic building when they encountered an unexpected sight. As they set up their equipment, a figure appeared before them, a woman in a flowing brown gown, seemingly floating down the staircase. Provand and his colleague quickly snapped a photograph, which would later become one of the most famous ghost images in history. The photograph, known as the Brown Lady of Rainham Hall, shows a spectral figure descending the staircase, shrouded in a mysterious aura. This image sparked widespread fascination and debate, drawing the attention of both skeptics and believers in the paranormal. Many claimed it was a genuine ghostly apparition, while others argued it could be a double exposure or a trick of light. Regardless of the theories surrounding the photograph, it has become an enduring symbol of the paranormal and a centerpiece of ghost lore. The legend of the Brown Lady has continued to evolve over the years, with numerous accounts of sightings and experiences recounted by visitors to Rainham Hall. Some have reported feelings of unease, strange noises, and even glimpses of the ghostly figure in her iconic brown gown. These tales have cemented the Brown Lady's status as one of England's most notorious spirits. Today, Rainham Hall stands as a historic estate that welcomes visitors curious about its intriguing past. Ghost tours and paranormal investigations often highlight the story of the Brown Lady, allowing guests to delve into the haunting narrative that lingers in the air. In the dead of night, where shadows converge and fear festers, the legend of the clown doll terrorises those who dare recall it. An eerie twist on the age-old tale of the babysitter and the man upstairs. This sinister story winds its icy fingers around the spine of suburban legend. It began innocuously enough, an ordinary evening with a teenage babysitter named Sophie, tasked with watching two young children in a sprawling old house at the edge of town. The parents had gone out for a rare night on the town, leaving Sophie in charge, the TV the only light flickering against the growing darkness outside. As the night wore on, Sophie put the children to bed and settled into the living room to await the parents' return. It was then she noticed a clown doll sitting in a rocking chair across the room. Its painted face was frozen in a too-wide grin, eyes glassy and unblinking, staring directly at her with an intensity that prickled the back of her neck. She tried to dismiss it as just another odd toy, but its eerie presence filled the room with an oppressive air. Unease twisted into dread when she received a phone call from the children's father, checking in. Mentioning the clown doll to him, She joked nervously about how creepy it was. Silence stretched on the line for a moment before the father's voice, now tense and urgent, pierced the quiet. "Listen to me carefully," he said. "Take the children and go to the neighbour's house immediately. We don't have a clown doll." The line clicked dead as panic surged through Sophie. Seized by terror, she raced upstairs to the children's room, her heart hammering in her chest. Bursting through the door, she found the children sleeping soundly, unaware of the nightmare unfolding. Without a moment to spare, she bundled them up and fled into the night, the cold air biting at her skin. Police arrived at the scene to a gruesome discovery. The doll was no toy, but a murderer dressed as a clown, hidden in plain sight among the children's toys. The house's back door showed signs of forced entry. The intruder had been inside all along, his disguise part of a macabre plan. This harrowing incident spiralled into an urban legend, whispered at sleepovers and retold at Halloween, a cautionary tale of the sinister lurking in unsuspecting places. To this day, the story of the clown doll serves as a chilling reminder that not all is as it seems, and sometimes the true monsters wear the faces of our deepest fears. Tonight we take a quiet journey into the eerie legend of the chupacabra. Let the mystery of the goat sucker guide you into a peaceful slumber as we unravel this chilling tale. In the remote shadowed corners of the Americas, whispers carry a name: the chupacabra. Born from terror and blood, this cryptid first slithered into legend on the stormy nights of Puerto Rico. Farmers would wake to a nightmare, their once lively goats drained of life, eyes glassy, throats pierced by two perfect holes. The blood was gone, as if sucked dry by some unholy predator. They say the name, chupacabra, stems from its insidious habits. Chupa, meaning to suck, and cabra, meaning goat. And so it was called the goat sucker, a beast with an insatiable thirst for blood. As dawn broke and bodies of livestock lay scattered, many wondered what kind of creature could commit such carnage. Described as reptilian or dog-like, the chupacabra is said to move with an unnatural grace, its skin scaly, cold to the touch, with glowing red eyes that burn through the night like molten embers. It creeps silently through the fields, avoiding human eyes, until it strikes, leaving nothing but empty carcasses and fear in its wake. Reports of its presence spread beyond Puerto Rico, with sightings in Mexico, South America, and even the southern United States. In each case, the telltale signs were the same: drained livestock, puncture wounds, and an eerie, lingering silence that chilled the blood of those left behind. Some claimed to see it with their own eyes, a monstrous figure crouching low to the ground, waiting for the moment to pounce. Its movements were quick, almost too fast to follow, vanishing into the darkness as quickly as it appeared. Legends tell that the chupacabra was a cursed experiment gone wrong, a mutated creature that escaped from the depths of a secret lab, its body forever twisted into something both alien and grotesque. Others believe it is something far older, a demonic force that has existed for centuries, waiting for the right moment to return and feast upon the world. To this day, people fear the shadow of the chupacabra, dreading the eerie silence that falls over their farms at night. They lock their doors and guard their animals, praying that they will not be the next victims of the creature that stalks in the dark, thirsting for blood. As long as the chupacabra remains a mystery, it will continue to haunt the imagination of those who dare to walk the lonely roads, one Across the United States, numerous bridges bear this macabre nickname, each story rooted in a haunting event so sorrowful that the echoes seem to transcend time itself. These structures, often decrepit and isolated, are united by the eerie phenomenon of phantom infant wails that pierce the stillness of the night. One such bridge looms on the outskirts of a small, weathered town, cloaked in the thick mists that rise from the river below. Local legend has it that many decades ago, a young mother, driven by despair and madness, threw her newborn child from the bridge into the icy waters beneath. They say she was consumed by grief and torment over her deed, and that her wails mingled with those of her child in a symphony of anguish. Overcome by remorse, she leapt to her own death, hoping in vain to join her child in the depths. Since that fateful night, those who dare to walk the bridge after dark report hearing the harrowing sounds of a baby's cries, so real and so close that they turn in desperation, searching for the child they can never find. Some also hear the ghostly lament of the mother, a mournful wail that drifts across the river and settles like a cold shroud upon the hearts of the listeners. The Crybaby Bridge has become a rite of passage for the local youth, a test of courage or foolhardiness. Teenagers gather in hushed groups, their voices low, as they dare one another to cross the bridge at midnight. Armed only with flashlights that cast long, ominous shadows, they step onto the creaking wood, each plank groaning under the weight of the grim history it bears. As they reach the centre, where the river runs darkest, the cries begin. At first, a soft whimpering, it soon swells into a crescendo of screams, so visceral that many flee in terror, swearing never to return. Others speak of seeing a spectral figure of a woman, her gown flowing and pale in the moonlight, her arms reaching out for the child she will never hold again. Cameras and phones, intended to capture proof, inexplicably fail, leaving only the memories of those haunted by what they have experienced. The Crybaby Bridge serves as a stark reminder of the past's grip on the present, its story passed down through generations as a chilling warning. It is a place where the boundary between this world and the next is thin, where sorrow and tragedy are etched into the very landscape, and the cries of the lost are never far from earshot. In the shadows of Terrell, Texas, whispers and warnings have woven a chilling legend through the generations, a tale that clings to the fringes of nightmare and reality. They call her the Candy Lady, but behind the innocuous name lurks a sinister spectre named Clara Crane, whose story has haunted the town for over a century. The legend began in the early 1900s, when children in Terrell started to vanish without a trace. Desperate parents scoured the land, dredging the creeks and combing through the thickets, but none could unearth any sign of their missing offspring. As the community groped for answers, a disturbing pattern emerged. Children reported finding candies on their windowsills, pieces of caramels wrapped in crinkling parchment paper, with tiny notes urging them to come out and play. The notes were always signed with a simple, eerie C. Whispered tales from older folks traced the unsettling gifts back to Clara Crane, a woman once known among the townsfolk. Clara, they said, had lived on the fringes of Terrell, a reclusive and peculiar widow, whose only solace after the death of her abusive husband was her young daughter. Her life spiraled into darkness when her daughter mysteriously died, with local gossip suggesting foul play. The town shunned her, whispering that she had gone mad with grief, her mind twisted by the tragedy. Some said she blamed the children of Terrell for her loss, believing they had enticed her daughter into some fatal mischief. After her daughter's death, It was as if her spirit, unquelled by death or reason, continued to seek vengeance. The candies kept appearing, each piece an eerie invitation from beyond the grave. The most unsettling accounts involve letters found with the older children, written as if Clara herself were conversing with them from the shadows. These letters were more sinister, promising the children their fill of sweets in life and in death. It was as if Clara was crafting a congregation of souls, luring the innocent with sugar-coated deceit. Late at night, when the moon cast a ghostly glow across the fields, some claimed to see a figure near the edge of the woods, a silhouette of a woman in a tattered gown, her face obscured by the darkness. They said it was Clara, watching, waiting for her next child to claim. Those who dared to venture too close to the woods at night reported hearing the soft, unsettling melody of a lullaby drifting through the trees, only to be swallowed up by the suffocating silence of the unseen. To this day, the legend of Clara Crane, the Candy Lady, lingers in the air of Tyrrell like a thick fog. Parents tightly secure their windows, wary of the old tale, and remind their children to steer clear of the sweets that might appear unbidden. As Halloween approaches each year, the tension in the town tightens, a collective memory of the loss stirring in the hearts of those who remember. And so, the community watches and waits, the legend of Clara Crane etched deep in their bones, a spectral reminder that some tales are too chilling to be forgotten, and some spirits too vengeful to rest. Welcome to the chilling tale of Mercy Brown, an urban legend from the quiet town of Exeter, Rhode Island. Relax, close your eyes, and let this mysterious story take you back in time. In the small, quiet town of Exeter, Rhode Island, during the late 19th century, the Brown family was plagued by tragedy. Tuberculosis, a deadly disease with no known cure at the time, had already claimed the lives of several members of the family. The illness was known as consumption, due to how it appeared to waste away its victims. George Brown, the patriarch, watched helplessly as one by one his loved ones fell ill and died. His wife, Mary Eliza, was the first to succumb, followed by his eldest daughter, Mary Olive, both taken within a few short years of each other. Despite these losses, George hoped the worst had passed. However, his youngest daughter, Mercy Brown, soon fell ill with the same symptoms. Mercy was a bright young woman, but tuberculosis did not spare her, and she died in January 1892 at the age of 19. Her death left the Brown family devastated, but the horror was not yet over. Just weeks after Mercy's passing, her brother, Edwin, who had been ill for some time, took a turn for the worse. Fearing for his life, desperate measures were taken, leading to the birth of an enduring legend. At the time, tuberculosis was not well understood, and in many rural communities, fear and superstition spread almost as quickly as the disease itself. In Exeter, some townsfolk began to whisper about the possibility of something more sinister. Could the dead be rising from their graves to drain the life from the living? This idea, while unthinkable to modern sensibilities, was deeply rooted in folklore at the time. In New England, there was a long-standing belief in vampires, though these vampires were not the glamorous creatures of Gothic fiction, but rather the restless dead rising from their graves to consume the life force of their living relatives. George Brown, despite being a practical man, was persuaded by his neighbours to exhume the bodies of his deceased family members, hoping to find the cause of Edwin's worsening condition. In March of 1892, with the ground still frozen, a small group of men gathered in the graveyard where the Browns were buried. They first dug up the remains of George's wife and eldest daughter, but both had decomposed as expected. Then they turned to Mercy. Unlike the others, Mercy's body was found to be in a strangely preserved state, even though she had been buried for over 2 months. Her skin still appeared relatively intact, and there were even rumours that her body had shifted in the grave, as though she had been moving after death. The most alarming discovery, however, was the presence of fresh blood in her heart and veins. In the shadowed realms of rural lore, where the line between jest and truth blurs, the legend of cow tipping haunts the fields and farmyards. Said to be a moonlit escapade for thrill-seeking youths, this bizarre activity involves the stealthy approach towards an unsuspecting cow, fast asleep standing upright in the darkness, and the sudden, forceful shove to topple the massive beast over for mere sport. But beyond the surface of this seemingly harmless prank lies a more chilling narrative, whispered among those who know the countryside's true face after dark. As the legend goes, in a secluded farming community, enveloped by the embrace of ancient woods and forgotten roads, cow tipping became more than just a reckless pastime. It morphed into a ritual of fear. The teens of this town, driven by boredom and the intoxicating rush of defiance, would venture out into the fields under the guise of night, their laughter slicing through the silence like a cold wind. But there was one night that turned their mischievous jaunt into a nightmare. As the group approached a familiar pasture, the moon hung low and ominous, bathing everything in a ghostly silver hue. The cows stood like monolithic statues in the mist, their breath forming clouds in the crisp air. Emboldened by the eerie night, the teens singled out a large, shadowy figure at the edge of the field. With a mix of exhilaration and alcohol-fueled bravado, they crept up to the sleeping cow. However, as they laid their hands on the creature, ready to push, the cow did not budge. Instead, it slowly turned its head, revealing not the docile eyes of a farm animal, but the glowing red orbs of a creature from deeper shadows. The teens froze, their hearts pounding as the cow, or the thing that masqueraded as one, rose unnaturally on its hind legs, towering over them with a menacing presence. Panic erupted as the creature chased them through the fields, its form blurring between beast and spectre, its bellows a grotesque parody of bovine grunts mixed with something far older and angrier. The youths scattered, screaming into the night, forever marked by the terror of what they had provoked. Those who returned spoke little of the incident, their eyes haunted by the memory. The story spread, a cautionary tale whispered around campfires and during late-night gatherings. Cow tipping was no longer seen as a harmless challenge, but as a dare with potentially dire consequences. To this day, the fields at the edge of that town remain untouched at night, the cows left to their peaceful slumber. For the locals know that some rural myths are better left untested, and that disturbing the natural order can awaken things best left asleep in the darkness. Tonight, let me guide you into the shadows of ancient Spain, where the chilling legend of the Castilian lisp unfolds. Relax, close your eyes, and let the whispers of history lull you to sleep. In the dark corners of Spain's forgotten history, a chilling tale has lingered for centuries. stories whispered among locals and passed down from generation to generation is the legend of the Castilian lisp, a haunting story that, while discredited by scholars, continues to send shivers down the spines of those who hear it. Long ago, in a time when kings ruled with an iron fist and the boundaries between myth and reality were blurred, there was a king unlike any other. His name has been lost to the shadows of time, but his affliction, an unmistakable lisp, would echo across Spain, leaving a trail of fear and confusion in its wake. The king's speech was strange, almost inhuman, as though something had cursed his very words. His voice carried an eerie sibilance, a sound that cut through the air like the hiss of a snake. The court, terrified of the king's wrath, dared not speak of his speech defect, but whispers of dark magic and ancient curses spread beyond the castle walls, infecting the imagination of the populace. It was said that the king's lisp was no mere quirk of speech, but the result of a sinister pact made with forces beyond this world. Some claimed he had bargained with a demon for power, and in return his tongue was twisted, forcing him to speak in a way that no one else could. Others believed that a vengeful witch had cursed him, condemning his voice to forever sound as though it were tethered to the underworld. As the legend goes, the king was a man of great influence, and no one dared to correct his speech. Instead, out of fear, the courtiers and nobles began to mimic the king's pronunciation. His strange lisp spread like a disease, infecting the tongues of those who sought to curry favour with the crown. Soon, it was said, the entire kingdom spoke as their king did, their voices carrying the cursed sound of the theatre. The streets echoed with the eerie lisp, a constant reminder of the dark secret lurking in Spain's past. Children grew up speaking the language of the damned, unaware of the malevolent forces that had shaped their words. Though historians have debunked this tale as pure fantasy, the legend persists, a chilling reminder of how even the most benign of sounds can carry with them the weight of a curse. The next time you hear the soft hiss of a theatre in Spanish speech, remember the tale of the cursed king and wonder what dark power still lingers behind the sound. Tonight's story takes us to the mysterious legend of the Bunny Man, a figure lurking in the shadows with an axe in hand. Close your eyes, relax, and let this eerie tale drift you to sleep. The Bunny Man is an eerie urban legend that took root in Fairfax County, Virginia in 1970 and has since spread across the Washington, D.C. area. The story has been retold in many forms, but the core of the legend centres around a mysterious figure dressed in a rabbit costume, referred to as the Bunny Man, who reportedly terrorises people with an axe. The legend is said to have originated from two strange incidents. The first took place in October 1970, when a young couple parked their car near a secluded area to talk. Suddenly, a man in a bunny suit appeared out of nowhere, wielding an axe. He angrily yelled at them about trespassing on his property before smashing the car window with the axe. legends of the tale claim that the Bunny Man is the ghost of an escaped mental patient who had a psychotic break and now haunts the area, seeking revenge on anyone who crosses his path. Others suggest that the Bunny Man is still alive, lurking in the woods of Virginia, waiting for the next unsuspecting victim. The most notorious version of the legend involves the Bunny Man Bridge, a secluded railway overpass near Clifton, Virginia. According to some, this bridge is where the Bunny Man is most likely to appear, especially on Halloween night. Witnesses have claimed to hear strange noises or even see the shadowy figure of the Bunny Man wielding his infamous axe. While there is no solid evidence to prove the existence of the Bunny Man, the legend has persisted for decades, fueling local folklore and unsettling the imaginations of those who dare to explore the areas where the Bunny Man is said to roam. In the shadowy annals of New England's history, amidst tales of spectral figures and cursed lands, the story of Eunice Cole, or Goody Cole, stands out with a chilling resonance. In the small town of Brentwood, New Hampshire, her name became synonymous with witchcraft and woe, her life a testament to the dark superstitions that once gripped the heart of the 17th century. Goody Cole was an enigmatic figure, her life shrouded in misfortune and mystery. First accused of witchcraft in 1656, she became the scapegoat for every disaster that befell the town, from unexplained deaths to failing crops and dying livestock. Her neighbours' fear and suspicion branded her an outcast, a woman touched by the devil himself. The townsfolk whispered that she could be seen muttering to herself in the woods, concocting strange brews and communing with unseen forces. Children dared each other to peek through her dimly lit windows, only to flee in terror at the sight of her shadowy form bending over a flickering flame. It was said that she cast curses with a glance and summoned storms with a wave of her gnarled hands. Her repute as a witch grew so dire that in 1673 she was accused once more. This time, the evidence was more damning, the fear more palpable. They dragged her before the court, her eyes blazing with defiance as the charges were read. Found guilty, she was sentenced to imprisonment, her final years spent in the cold, dark confines of a cell, where she was left to languish, forgotten by all but those who feared her curse. But death did not bring Goody Cole peace. The town, eager to rid itself of her malignant influence once and for all, buried her in an unmarked grave at the edge of the cemetery. They drove a stake through the heart of her plot, a grim ritual to prevent her tormented spirit from rising and haunting them. Yet, this act only solidified her legend, and it was said that her spirit lingered, malevolent and vengeful. To this day, eerie occurrences in Brentwood are often whispered to be the workings of Goody Cole's restless ghost. On stormy nights, some claim to see her figure in the flashes of lightning, wandering the woods or standing by her unmarked grave, still bound by the town's collective dread. Her legend has become a chilling reminder of the power of fear and the lasting stain of injustice, her story echoing through the centuries as a spectral tale of a woman wronged, her vengeance immortalised